The Fallout is a new HBO Max original movie directed by Megan Park and is the story of a high school student, Jenna Ortega, who survives a school shooting and is dealing with the PTSD and trauma of the after effects of that. So I heard about this movie a little bit ago. I saw a trailer online and kind of heard that it was this new HBO Max movie. Obviously, I'm going to try to review as many streaming service originals as I can this year. Because it is kind of harder for me to get to the movies, so I don't know. But anyway, so I was very much kind of looking forward to this movie. I was a little hesitant, seeing as how I'm not really a big fan of movies that are made about modern teenagers. I don't know, as being a modern teenager, I feel like a lot of them really miss the mark. Spoiler for my worst of the year list, but Moxie was a movie that came out last year that was just atrociously bad and going to be pretty high on that list. Or just movies and TV shows like that I really haven't connected with. So, and even if I can completely understand if you love this movie, I can completely understand why people are singing highest praises for this thing, but this is just another instance of a teen movie that I really didn't connect with. The dialogue isn't realistic. It isn't how teenagers actually talk. It's just embarrassing. It tries so hard to be realistic and so hard to be authentic to how people my age actually talk, and it's bullshit. I guess if I was like 10 years older, I may not have bothered me as much, but it is what it is. It's bullshit, and I think that most people my age who would see this movie, I would hope, would kind of point that out, be like, hey, that's not how we communicate to each other. That's not how we would react in that situation. That's not how we are. At least for me personally, and other people who have seen this movie and I'm friends with and have talked about with it, agree with me. That it is really kind of embarrassing when someone kind of comes in and tries to write realistic teenage dialogue, and I feel like it never works because it's not going to be authentic unless you are a teenager, and not a lot of teenagers are good at screenwriting, really rarely any at all. So I would say it's very hard to write dialogue for teenagers, and I feel like when you're going for that, you should more lean in the direction of something like Superbad or Empire Records or Lady Bird, especially Lady Bird. That movie is kind of the prime example of when someone talks about a coming of age movie, movie about being a teenager. I point mostly to Lady Bird getting it right, and I point to this kind of stuff really getting it wrong. Because it very much reminds me of 13 Reasons Why. When I was watching this movie, I was like, yeah, this feels like a deleted episode for 13 Reasons Why, and I really can't stand that show. And yeah, a lot of people my age agree with me. I hope some people who see this are my age and do agree with me on this, because it's frustrating to see that on screen. It's just inaccuracy. That's what it is. It's plain and simple. It's inaccurate to how people my age interact with each other, and I think it's kind of being overdone. Like this kind of flock of teenage movies needs to die out at this point. Okay, there was my little rant about the movie. That's as negative as I'm going to be, just because I really don't want to harp on this movie that much. I didn't hate it whatsoever. But the script really did bother me and hindered me from enjoying this thing really at all. I never connected with it emotionally. I never was like, yeah, wow, I felt that way before. Or wow, they actually did that well. I could see somebody else feeling that way. It really was kind of far-fetched and kind of just, that was a movie. And I really have a hard time talking about this kind of movie. I would usually save it for like a 1-minute review. But I have a little more to say than I would. But I don't know. The Fallout is just kind of a movie that, it gets some beats right. The relationship between Jenna Ortega's character and her sister was great. I thought that was really, really well played out and really exactly how it is. I thought the lady who plays Claire in Modern Family was fine. I thought Jenna Ortega was fine, even though I'm not the biggest fan of her. I thought she was okay in this movie. I thought the cinematography was fine. I thought the story beats were okay. It was just a very predictable kind of movie that I feel like a lot of people will say is understated, and like, oh, you just it's supposed to be boring on purpose. It's supposed to be like depression. I'm not gonna call this thing boring. It wasn't like bland or anything. It wasn't monotonous. It was just kind of there. It was like, okay, that happened. That story played out. That shot was fine. That narrative element was fine. All of it was just fine in my head, and I never connected with it emotionally. I never connected with it on a negative or positive light besides the script, and that's kind of the only thing I really have to talk about. But don't get me wrong, if you like this movie, I don't want you to take this review as me saying you're stupid or me disagreeing with you, really, because I can't say this is a bad movie. It's not. And if you can get past the cringy dialogue, excuse me, if you can get past the inaccuracies the movie has, I think a lot of people could get a lot out of this movie and really find comfort in it. And with its portrayal of PTSD and its portrayal of portrayal of like trauma. And again, if you feel that way, please keep feeling that way. Please don't let this deter your opinion. Not that it would, but just don't let my opinions on this really sway your opinions, because this movie is not for me. This is really the same kind of ilk of movies that have been coming out recently that I really don't like, and it just kind of falls in that realm. And I'm never gonna hate them unless they're bad movies. But obviously, I'm gonna hate a bad movie. But this movie, I'm not gonna hate. I have no hate in my heart for this movie whatsoever. I just kind of think it's meh. I think it's all right. It's okay in a negative way, and that there's nothing really wrong with that. I don't think. A movie I want to shout out. I already reviewed it last year, 2 years ago now, 2020. Never, Rarely, Always, Sometimes. That movie is very much in the same vein as this movie. Very quiet, very understated, very minimalist. But that movie hits so much harder because of how... So these are two movies that are very much about being a teenager and being very on the nose with its message. And with Never, Rarely, Always, Sometimes, that movie works so well because of how hard the ending hits of that movie. The entire thing, the entire runtime of that movie, you're kind of like, okay, where is this going? All right, I kind of saw that coming. Yeah, they kind of keep reusing that trope. Where is this going to go? But once the ending hits and you finally realize what's truly going on and put yourself in the shoes of that main character, you're like, wow, that's holy shit. I never even thought of it that way. That's really impactful. And that movie is so great because of that. And this movie just doesn't have that moment. It never has a moment where I clicked. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I just didn't connect with the characters. Maybe I just didn't connect with the story. But, yeah, I don't know. With the Fallout, I never really fell in love with it, to make a stupid joke. I never really connected with it on any level, and I just thought it was kind of bland. Oh no, I didn't think it was bland. I think it was very mediocre. I think it was just kind of there. So I'm gonna give the Fallout a C+. Kind of sorry for the kind of rambly review. This movie is hard to talk about just because I don't think it is the best it could have been. I really think I am very sick of this kind of teen movie, and was expecting a lot more from what people have said about it. I was expecting a lot more from the Fallout. So yes, I'm going to give the Fallout a strong C+, and just leave it at that. That's all I will say about it. If you like this movie, good for you. I personally don't really like it, but I'm not gonna hate it. I don't hate this movie at all. So that's my review of the Fallout. Let me know what you guys really. I want to know what you guys think of this movie. If you are watching. So my best of the year list is coming around. Me and Cameron are both working on ours. She will be back on the channel in a little bit. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I'll see you guys with the next review, and hopefully maybe the top 10 best and worst movies of 2021. So yeah, see you guys later.